Welcome back, traders, to my market preview for the week of August 25th. And let's go ahead and jump right into it on the weekly chart for the dollar index. So as you can see, for the past few weeks, we've had a decline in the dollar index, and in the last week, we did reach below the sell side liquidity above this swing low. And since we closed below the mean threshold on this weekly order block, I do expect price to come down and take the sell side liquidity above this swing low here. Now on the daily chart, there's not much to say except we do have some inefficiencies up here, so we could see a retracement back to these levels and line up with this old swing low, and then we can bust down through below these relative lows and come down to take the sell side liquidity above this swing low. But other than that, there's not much else to say. Now moving on to S&P on the weekly chart, we get a nice rally above this inversion fair value gap. I was expecting this to be inversion fair value gap, but you can see we did close above it on the weekly chart. And if we use this order block here, you can see that it even closed above the mean threshold here. So I am kind of expecting price to come up above the buy side liquidity on the swing high here. If we go down into the daily chart, you can see that we went up above that inversion fair value gap, and we went and started using it as support. So there's also a volume balance here, so let me take off this volume balance or the inversion fair value gap to make it a little bit more clear. Using the volume balance, we can see that we went up and we're using it as support. So we could be expecting price to come up and take out the buy side liquidity above this swing high. Although we do have this small little fair value gap here that could cause some problems. If we do get a decline from here, I don't want to see this fair value gap get broken through. So we could come down and use it as support, but I really don't want to see closure below this swing low, or I'm sorry, below this fair value gap. Otherwise, I will be turning my attention more towards the downside. But right now, I'm currently looking for the upside at this moment. Now looking at Nasdaq, it's not as bullish as ES. In fact, we can still have a bearish bias for the Nasdaq because we did not reach into this fair value gap on the weekly. In fact, we did trade up into this weekly order block and we've repelled against it. Now I do have this highlighted here as a fair value gap, an inversion fair value gap, and we're still kind of working in it. The bodies are still within it, so it's still possible this could hold as resistance and we come down to take out the sell side liquidity below the swing low. But kind of coming into this week, I want to have more of a neutral bias for Nasdaq and not jump too quick to any conclusions. Now looking at the daily chart, we did rally up for the past few weeks. We took out the buy side above this swing high. There is somewhat of relative highs up here and we reached back into the optimal trade entry. So we could see a drop down and go for the relative lows below these two lows right here. But there's also potential that we could reach a little bit higher into the weekly SIBI or the daily SIBI as well. Really, I think the key going into this week is to keep an eye on this daily fair value gap. If we start trading below this fair value gap and this order block does not hold up, then we can start looking for the lows. But otherwise, this could be a support area that could push price into a further higher imbalance. So that's pretty much it for me this week. I'm not really getting a good read on the market one way or the other, so I'll definitely coming into this week, I want to be a little bit more cautious and have more of a neutral bias. Now this week there are some high impact news, so sometime in the middle of the week the market may tell me where it wants to go, but until we do, I don't really want to risk too much. So I also want to caution you guys to be a little bit more safe and just wait. Let the market tell you what it wants to do. But if you're not subscribed to this channel yet, please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any of my future market outlooks, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified as soon as I release another video. But until next time guys, safe trading.